All right, well, welcome to talk about new AI things that Adobe's doing in Photoshop. And I, I'm starting here not with Photoshop itself, but with another tool that they use called Lightroom, which can also be used to edit pictures. And it recently got an update as well with a thing called denoise, which is part of their AI features. And thought it'd be worth mentioning that because I'm going to be using Adobe Lightroom to launch the pictures in Photoshop because it's a good way to do it. And I was just looking around to decide what to use for the presentation, and I decided to go back to this old shoot I did with a model called Ilvi. I did it in Den Haag. It was done in 2017, so it's a little while ago. But one of the nice things that I've discovered, having looked at what you can do in this new version of Photoshop, is that it allows you to do things which you don't necessarily or couldn't necessarily do originally. So there was a couple of shots in here. Well, there was one shot in particular which it didn't turn out the way I imagined it. It didn't look the way I had it in my head, and since then I've been able to edit it and make it look the way I wanted it to look. So I'll come to that probably towards the end of this talk. But so I was just wanted to start with a denoise. So you might think that this picture isn't very noisy, but if you go in, zoom in, you find that it's a lot noisier than you might think. Hang on, need to go. I'm going to sort of zoom right in on this photo, and if you look at, let's go even more, like 800%, you can start to see some noise in the picture. You know, it's not quite as good as it could be. And
JPEG artifacts on the bridge.
This isn't a JPEG. This is RAW. So there's no JPEG artifacts here. This is some noise from the camera because it was taken at ISO of 800. So there's now in Lightroom itself a nice denoise facility. So if you come down, go into the develop mode.
Yes.
I'm afraid my laptop's rather slow. At home I've got this sort of super machine which goes really quickly. The laptop's a bit challenged, so I don't use it a lot for Lightroom and Photoshop. It's running at its limit, I think, to do things. Oh, jumped into Photoshop already. So if you go into the detail window in Lightroom,
Yes.
there's this new denoise button, and if you click on that, it loads the picture and works out how much and how to denoise it. Some of the features in Photoshop and Lightroom are running on the AI features are running on the machine, on the local machine. I actually haven't tried this on the laptop, but hopefully it will work its way through. And now it's decided that it needs that much. I guess you can add a bit more, decide how much of this you really want, and hit enhance. And actually, I don't know if you can really see the difference on this. It's going to take a little while to do it. It's still working on it here. But on my big screen, on my big 4K screen at home, it really shows up with these shots of Ilvi, because the noise is a lot better.
So if she has foundation on her face,
Yeah.
which makes mottly stuff a bit like noise,
Yeah,
does it manage to understand that that's different from shot noise?
It doesn't actually. It seems to be able to get rid of.
Sorry.
It does seem to treat it the same way. I must admit, I haven't thought about the foundation thing, but most of the shots I've got would have had that. This is just because this is running on my local machine. It's taking a long time, so apologies for that. But yes, that's one of the features of the system, that it will do denoise, and I found that quite useful. But we just had a conversation earlier about other things. There are other AI tools out there. Another one I've got on my machine at home is the Topaz Photo AI, which is much better, and it's actually much faster than some of the Adobe things.
Does it work in a RAW?
It does. It works better. Topaz works better on RAW than it does on JPEGs, but it works on both. I don't know if it's worth waiting for this. Let's move on.
It's nearly there. It's at the top left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
progress, nearly there.
Yes.
A bit of improv stand up.
I'll wait then.
How much is it upgrading from Lightroom to this Super Lightroom?
It's part of the standard monthly subscription,
Oh,
if
no,
you've
I've
got
not
the
that.
monthly subscription.
No, I just bought it out.
If you don't have a monthly subscription, then it would involve signing up for the monthly subscription.
No.
And I'm not sure how much that costs now. I bought mine ages ago. How much is it?
It's
Just under
9.
30.
It's still. I still pay nine something.
Yeah, I'm paying that, but I think now new people probably have to pay 11, I think, or something like that. But and for that you get Lightroom, Photoshop, and I think they're going to throw in this other new thing I'll talk about at the end,
Bridge.
and Bridge. Yeah, if you
I think you can quite see the difference in the bridge of her nose and by the shell of her ear.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really quite a difference there.
What's happened now?
Creates a separate. It's done it.
So it has created a separate file. You can see it's got a different name down here now. Enhanced nr.dng. So this is Adobe's internal RAW format, which has got all the data from the original RAW file in it, plus the denoised version of the image. Anyway, let's move on, and I'll talk about some of the features in Photoshop. So one of the features in Photoshop is that it will expand a picture, because it's got this generative AI. And here's a photo that I looked at and I thought, oh, I'd like to put that on Instagram, but sorry, it's a bit slow. I didn't realise my laptop would be this slow. So I've got this picture of Ilvi, and I thought I'd like to put that on Instagram, but Instagram works best with a square picture. And I had a look on here and I thought there isn't any way that I can make this look the way I want it as a square picture, what I'll do is I'll edit it in Photoshop. So from Lightroom you can simply go in here and choose edit in, and then choose to edit in Adobe Photoshop, and it will fire up this new version of Photoshop. And let's try again. So now if I say edit in Adobe Photoshop, it should fire up the
Then it
right.
doesn't want to do that with the data. It might just always control the main one. But there was another option saying edit in, and you can add something else on. So if it doesn't work, you can always give it a different path.
Yeah, it does work. Yes, it's working now. It's out. So basically, one of the new features in the latest Photoshop is this what's called the contextual taskbar. So when you first go into Photoshop, you can see some of the existing versions stuff, which was slightly more difficult to get to. So for example, one thing that's been in Photoshop for a while is this remove background and select subject, but it was always well hidden in the menus, so it wasn't so easy to use. So I'm just going to duplicate the current layer because I don't want to ruin my original, and show you what it looks like if we say remove background, for example. It will use an AI thing to select out the model, Ilvi in this case, and hopefully it will do it reasonably well. Apparently in this new version it's better. I must admit I haven't used it much in this in the old version, so it'd be interesting to see how good it is. Again, it's much slower on here. Oh yes, it's not too bad. So
Not bad.
yeah, there's a bit on the hair. We'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, so it works pretty well. This version. The one or two things
You can create that as a layer and then
exactly.
put
So
something else behind it.
so for example, if I wanted to, I could add a new layer in here, and set it to a different colour. Something. Let's say. Let's say I want to put her on a nice sky blue background. Then I can simply come in and fill it. If I go in here. At the paint bucket, and then just go. Oh, it didn't. Somehow I must have not got the right colour here. Let's go. And there she is on the blue background. I mean, that's not a very good choice of colour, but it works. So that's something that's been in the product for a little while, and it's now easier to get at because of this taskbar, the contextual taskbar. So that's something in the new version which is nice, a nice extra thing. But what I really wanted to do, as I mentioned, was make this square. So let me go back to doing that. I'll turn that off. I'll turn off Ilvi sitting by herself and come back to the original picture. And let's do the canvas size thing again. Make this 6,000.
It's a little, yeah. Presumably you don't have to pick a colour.
No. Basically, we'll use whatever. When you do that step, it will always use the background colour. So now I'm going to highlight this, and as soon as you create a selection on the new version, you've got a new thing in the contextual taskbar. So that's the nice thing about this thing. It knows what it kind of tries to guess what you might be trying to do and provides you with things. And we've got generative fill here, which is a new AI feature that everyone's either raving or screaming or objecting to, depending on their stance.
It's not real, is it?
No. So a lot of people have been worried about AI stuff. Steve some time ago came and told us all about how it was going to destroy photographers and artists' businesses. I think it's a little way off doing that yet because it's not that good. But this is getting better. And the interesting thing that Adobe have done, at least from my point of view, is they've trained their AI using only pictures that they had the rights to. Whereas some of the other people who've done AI things like Midjourney have basically just scoured the internet and used any old picture they could find. So a lot of people who whose pictures are on the internet are upset with Midjourney because they've chosen all these pictures, a lot of stuff from films and things like that, and they have just incorporated them into the product. And Adobe have gone out of their way to try to make this safe as well. So when you try to generate something, it won't let you generate anything that they think is harmful. So I haven't tried generating pictures of guns yet, but maybe it would. So this was my one of the things I tried. So basically, I'm going to just go in here and hit the generative fill button, and it asks you then to agree not to do anything or to their user guidelines, against their user guidelines, and of course I hit agree. And then basically you've got a choice here. It changes the box down here to something where you can type some text. And let's try it first without any text. It should try to fill it in without any text, but it analyzes the picture in order to do it. And in order to analyze the picture, luckily this isn't going to run on my laptop. It's going to use the internet. It's going to send the picture to Adobe's big machines somewhere in California, and it's going to look at this picture and go, you can't do this because this picture's disgusting. It's got too much flesh in it. And I was a bit shocked really, because this is a perfectly good picture, but apparently Ilvy's hasn't got enough clothes on. So
It's American.
It's America, yeah. So what I found though was, and here's a tip if you want to use this, if you don't try and fill the whole thing out, but do it a little bit at a time, you get better results. And you can also, this also gives you the chance to tell it what you really want to do. So I'm going to put curtains in here, so it knows that I'm not actually trying to generate pictures of nude people. I hit generate and it will send it off. Now the other reason why it does a better job as well when you choose smaller sections is, remember my picture was 6,000 pixels high. So I was trying to generate something that was 6,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels wide. And in fact, in the Adobe software, it can only generate things 1024 by 1024. So what I would have got back was a slightly blurry version of what I was wanting. By generating smaller chunks, I can make them fully as detailed as the original picture. And now you can see that it's generated a bit of curtain which pretty well matches the curtains that were already there. And then if I take another section and go sofa, it will send that bit off, and it knows I'm not trying to generate something bad, and it will carry on and do it.
I wonder whether because she's got like her elbows on her legs, like the legs legs and the arms all together. Maybe it sees that as a load of flesh and things.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's too late to ask her to repose.
Yeah.
I might have another picture, but this was the first picture I tried in this set, and now you see it's generating a pretty good version of the sofa.
So it's able to identify curtains and sofas then.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And
Have you tried to compare that with content-aware fill from the previous, the non-beta version?
yes, and it's much better.
It's much better.
It is much better. I mean, not in this particular picture, but in other pictures where I had done content-aware fill in the past. It basically, content-aware fill tries to copy pixels from the existing picture. This doesn't. So it guesses, and I think it's done a fantastic job of guessing where the buttons are on the
It's done a really good.
on the settee.
And have the size of the buttons.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
me, it's the perspective of it getting ever so slightly
Whereas-
wider towards
Yeah.
The content-aware fill would have done a pretty good job on the settee, but not as good.
You know, you said Adobe has the rights to use stuff that it's got the rights to use.
Yeah.
If you use the system to do something like this, do you by default give it the rights to that picture?
No. And the other thing that Adobe are going to do is release a new thing, which is due to come out probably when this comes out of beta, where you can label your photos as you don't have a right to copy, to use this to create generative fill images, to train AI on. And this is going to be a relatively complicated system, but basically they're going to make a copy of every image that you say you can't use, but in a way that doesn't mean they've got a copy of the image. They're going to use some sort of algorithm to create a thing which they can use to reference your image. And after that, you'll be able to say, this is my image, and you'll be able to prove it by pointing at Adobe's new license website, and it will show you what is allowed to do with your image. So you can say, you know, you can't use this for training, you can't make copies of it. There'll be a whole list of things which people are allowed to do with an image you put up on the internet. And that's going to be part of a new product. I'm not sure whether it's going to be part of Photoshop or an add-on to Photoshop. I've got a feeling it will be an add-on to Photoshop, but I'm not sure. They haven't decided, or they haven't told me yet. So anyway, we could go and do all these bits. I might have a go.
Curiosity, if you selected that last chunk, instead of putting Sophie, you put something silly in like Bugs Bunny or Printer or
I was going to say put Santa Claus in because she's wearing a red dress. I wanted to see what happened.
Let's try it.
car.
I'll put Santa Claus.
Comes back saying, "Don't be silly."
It doesn't say.
Oh no.
It didn't like. It obviously didn't like that because it violates the user guidelines.
Yeah.
But
Copyright Santa.
maybe
Yeah,
it is.
let's get on there.
Let's try Father Christmas instead. And have I spelled Christmas right? I think so. But
Is it because you've not got anything that it recognises as Father Christmas within the image that it's doing that?
it might be. I don't know. We'll see. It might argue with me again.
You can put whatever
Yeah.
you want in.
It didn't quite reject it as quickly, did it? Oh,
There you go. Father Christmas is coming.
but you see, it's done a pretty good job of saying, well, it's on the sofa. Got to do a bit more sofa.
It's quite clever how it's managed to sort of, okay, what Father Christmassy thing can I sort of
Yeah.
stick on the picture?
Maybe that's why the guidelines were saying this is inappropriate because he's clearly not wearing whatever that's on the sofa. It's
Yeah.
not a frame.
So the other thing we might need to do is put in some floor in here, try that. And when I did this last time, I was quite impressed by how it had managed to do.
But
Pardon?
You're floored.
I was floored by the floor, yeah.
The impressive thing is how quick it is.
Yeah, well, it's running on a big machine in California. It's not running here on my laptop. It doesn't matter if you've
I'm
got.
not floored by that.
there is something in the corners of it. It does have still recognised where the end of the floor should be at the door
Yeah.
frame that we haven't made.
Yeah,
So if you highlight that bit and you say door,
let's try that.
So it does look like a door frame, and it's recognised from where you selected that's where the floor should end, even if it's added on. I don't know if that's supposed to be part of a wall or a changing floor or anything.
But also the
When I did door,
floorboard goes at
Yeah.
an angle. It doesn't go parallel with the others.
the
Exactly.
grey one.
this is actually some sort of shelf, I think.
I thought it was
The-
supposed to be like a wall, like you're taking from
Yeah,
a corner maybe.
I don't know what it is, but you know,
Is there a way to ask it to do it again?
so it's invented a door. I'm not sure I like it, but it's invented
Well, the
it.
thing is,
Hotel door.
there's still the focus.
So-
The photo is the model. So when
Yeah.
you put it on Instagram, that's what people's eyes are going to be drawn to anyway.
The other thing it's doing, which you probably may not have noticed, is it's not just doing the one thing; it's doing several. So if you didn't like that door, you've got a choice of two more.
That's quite convincing. the last one.
And the same with that floor. We probably could find a better version of the floor, perhaps that one. No, that's rubbish. Sometimes it just doesn't get it, you know. Yeah, don't know. That one's slightly better, but what you can do is, if you don't like what it's generated, you can go, oh well, let's have another go, and see if we can generate something slightly better. So I'll go. Need a bit more selection. Look,
Do floor again.
yeah. So sometimes it does take 2 or 3 tries to get it exactly the way you want it.
So to me, the door looks too far, too
Yeah, I
too
didn't like
sharp.
it. Yeah.
Like the,
Yeah.
the depth of field
Yeah.
is not in keeping, because obviously the focus is on
It
the
is
model.
distracting.
Yeah.
It should be more.
No, it's put a bit of carpet in for me.
But the other thing with the door is it's actually not done the vertical as vertical on
No.
the door.
Yeah, the thing
Well-
is, when you're looking for the
Maybe it's-
mistakes, it's quite easy to find them, even with the
Yeah.
sofa and the
Yeah.
curtain. But considering when you post this, you won't be drawing
Maybe-
attention to those bits. I think they will be,
Yeah.
apart from maybe that line of the door.
Because most people, when you look at it on their phone,
The thing is, like I said, does it take account of depth of field, or should it take account of depth of field?
I've noticed it does it if you've got a blurry background. It will
Put something blurry in.
put something slightly blurry in, yes. But sometimes, in particular in this case, it's a bit too sharp, I think, as you said.
Yeah.
And in some of the examples I've tried, I've actually just, because it's on a separate layer, it's generating extra layers for all these. You can just simply go to that layer and add a bit more blur, and then it looks much more realistic. So
That shadow, was that shadow there before?
I think that was because of the
Or has that put
something.
that in?
It's put that in, and again, sometimes sometimes I've found it puts in a bit of shadow. It tries to be clever. Sometimes it looks right, sometimes it doesn't.
I wonder if it put the rug and also that grey colour change because it simply didn't know how to put the wood flooring down.
Well, I think in that case I just put floor that time. I didn't put wood, so it's just gone. Oh, there's often a rug on the floor. Let's put a rug in. You know, I don't know, but we've got a choice of rugs. In fact, here, look. You know.
But
If I
presumably, if you wanted to blur the background, you could put this back into Lightroom.
I can do it in Photoshop. Yeah, I can simply say on this door. Let's just. I'll turn everything else off so you can just see that I'm only dealing with the door. I can basically just put in a, go up here. If I've chosen, say, okay, I'm going to live with that door. Probably wouldn't myself, but I'd probably have another go. Then I can just simply add a new layer or something, and get it to. I can't. Sorry, there's a menu at the top. I can't see it on the screen. So. Let's just use a bit of blur, bit of Gaussian blur, and just gonna come over and trying to find the right. There's nothing to guide me in the picture. Still.
Let's make it smaller.
Yeah, go on the. Make it smaller. Like 100%. Zoom out.
There you
I think it will drag now.
go.
Anyway,
That's probably all you've
yeah,
got.
it's probably all I've got. Yeah. So maybe I'd say, okay, I want a 3 pixel blur or something, and then
Do a 50 pixel blur so we can see it.
okay. Do it again. It's not going to let me do that.
There you go.
So you can do that because the layers are different. Anyway. All right, so that wasn't the picture I was particularly concerned about, but it's a good demonstration of this generative fill. The picture I was particularly interested in was another one. Let me just close that and go back to my collection here of pictures of Ilvi, and just trying to find the right one.
When it creates a new object, it's very quick at changing the characteristics of that new object, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Layer,
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering whether that has to go all the way to San Alamos and back
No,
again.
no.
No.
It only does that for the to
Yeah.
work out what's
Yeah.
the generative.
Yeah.
The filter thing, that is a fairly simple algorithm.
I see.
You know, it's
Yep.
it's just a little bit of matrix manipulation, and this machine does have a GPU in it which will do that algorithm very quickly. So
You may not know, but I'm curious. When you do Photoshop are planning where they're putting this labels and like, don't add me into these pools for the data for the AI, will they also be adding something along the lines of this photo has been edited or entirely created with AI? Because it would make sense if to have that sort of almost like not a warning label but a little tag.
Yes, they will.
they're planning to, yeah. They've talked about it already, haven't they?
Yes, there was a talk at the somebody from Adobe gave a Zoom talk for the RPS
Oh, okay.
on AI, which should be available. I don't know if it already is online. And they were saying that there will be tags if you use generative content, that it will be labelled.
But that's only their generative content.
Pardon?
Yeah.
That's presuming only their generative content. What if you do it?
Well, yeah, other
Yes,
people might not do it.
exactly,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact that they're at least trying not to steal artwork at the very least is a lot more than anyone else is doing, and Photoshop has got a big supply of
Oh, yeah.
users, so it does make
Yeah.
a
The
difference.
thing is that I don't think they're there yet, but that's what they said that they would.
Yeah, they're definitely working on something. I haven't seen it yet, so.
I saw one thing where they were looking at the AI and asking what was the origin of the final picture
Yeah.
and giving you the top 10 vague looks of where it came from.
Oh, okay.
And the argument was, if you do that, you won't know exactly where it came from, but say you did it in the style of Van Gogh,
Yeah.
and 3 of those images were well-known Van Gogh images, then to some extent you could potentially say this originated with Van Gogh.
Oh, okay.
And in that sense, you could potentially have attribution to the original artist,
Hmm.
which might be a good thing.
If someone paints a picture manually that looks like Van Gogh, would you apply the same processing? Because if someone's learned from looking at art, haven't they stolen?
Yeah,
Well,
so what
this
they're
is the
saying-
big argument that's going on. That people could. I mean, what the people who are supporting AI are saying is that AI is just learning by looking at pictures. It's not copying somebody else's pictures. It's just maybe copying their style or something. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the way the AI works, it's really difficult to tell how it's actually generating this stuff. Nobody can really put their hand on their heart and say, we know how it works. At least I don't think so. You know, it's you're creating a model which knows what the best thing next to each other pixel is going to be, and it's creating the way this AI stuff works is it's using either pixels from the picture. In this case, in the Adobe case, I've so far everything I've just done has been using my pictures, but it is possible to just start with a blank sheet of paper and say, draw me a picture of something, and the generative fill will do that. So it's then creating stuff out of nowhere, you know, and it's like that Father Christmas thing. The Father Christmas's cloak on the corner of the seat there, it's as near as it got, but it's just generated that out of what it knows about Father Christmas. But how it works, I have no idea. You know, it must have hundreds of pictures of Father Christmas and going, oh well, that'll fit here, I'll put it in. Anyway, this was the picture that I had originally thought I want to climb into the sky, and I thought it was kind of spoilt by all the buildings behind when I got it home and looked at it, and I thought, oh well, that didn't work out the way, and I didn't even bother to publish it or edit it. It just remained on my computer, and then once I started playing with this thing, I thought, okay, now I know what I can do, and I created an alternative version. And if I can find the alternative version, here it is. So basically I extended the picture, this time only on one side, on the left, and then I drew around the buildings, selected an area around the buildings, and I said sky, and it's generated a new sky for me, which fits in with the existing sky. And I had to make a careful selection, so I'm not going to bore you by doing that in this app, because I tried using select subject. It didn't quite work with select subject because it didn't regard the staircase as a subject. It just regarded Ilvi in her dress as a subject, so it was a bit mixed up, so I had to manually do the selection, but then I did the generative fill. So we could probably open this and you can see the layers it's generated. Where is it? editing.
So can you go through previous versions of the picture? Does it work?
Yeah, so to a certain extent I can, because basically I've got this version of the picture is saved in a TIFF format, so
Right.
you can see. Well, I didn't keep all the layers, unfortunately, but so you can see that I generated the bits separately. So I've got a bit here where I've generated the sky beneath her. So that was the original, and I've put
You're lucky that there was no house behind the tulle.
exactly.
You could extend the tulle so the little tip.
I could. I haven't tried that, but yes, I mean, I had several pictures to choose from, and I chose this one for various reasons. Not least that there wasn't a house behind
But
it.
actually, here, this bit, that's a bit of tulle. If
Yeah.
you click again,
Yeah.
it has removed some of the house.
Yeah, I think I probably did that manually
Oh, right, okay.
because I think I copied a bit from up here.
Yeah,
That was just to sort it out. So, as I say, this thing isn't perfect, but it does quite a good job, I think.
If you have a picture with wires across, you select the wire.
Yeah.
Do you then just do sky, or do you do remove wire, or what do you?
You put in what you want to replace it with. But one of the things I've discovered is in the previous version of Photoshop there was a new remove tool, which was an AI thing, and sometimes, especially for wires, the remove tool works better than the generative fill. And the difference is that it runs on your own machine, so it's not sending your picture off to Adobe, and it just happens to sometimes work better. So with wires, remove tool will work better. Let me show you a sort of example of let me show you the remove tool, because I think it's worth
Does this version have the remove tool in it?
It does. The remove tool is in the version that is actually released now, the release version. Let me show it to you. So let me go back to, I want to go back to Lightroom and find the right picture. Let's go back to that picture we had near the beginning, or one of those. Doesn't really matter which one. Oh, it does matter because I need to have a thing that I want to remove in it.
Can you remove that hole in the curtains just there?
I probably could, but come on.
Remove the wire of the...
So yeah, imagine I've got this and I want to get rid of. I don't like this lamp. I think it's horrible. So, but I could just get rid of the wire, as you say. So let's go edit in Photoshop. I haven't tried the remove tool on the curtains. I tried the generative fill on the curtains and that worked very well, so I didn't bother.
So before this AI remove tool, if you had wanted to remove that cable, what process would you have gone through?
I would have zoomed in, and then I would have used the clone stamp tool to copy other bits of the floor over the top of it.
Yeah.
And that would have hidden it.
Or very simply use the brush tool.
Yeah.
As a playback
There are other, different. If you're painting.
Totally. Would you say that the AI tool is more efficient by
Yes.
a large amount?
It saves an awful lot of time.
It's not necessarily that it's more efficient, but the results are better.
So if you click on the what was the spot healing brush tool, you've now got a new tool in this list, remove tool, and some people have gone over to it and used it so much they've actually made it a separate thing, because in the new version you can move the tools around a bit more than you used to be able to, so you can actually make it have its own thing. So this is the new remove tool. As I said, it is in the current version, we probably want it to be a bit bigger. So let me just, and I'm just going to zoom in
And
a
this
bit.
is an AI brush rather than a...
Yes, it's an AI remove tool, but it's running on your local machine, so speed will depend on the sorry, this machine's being slow now again. Now, so the other thing about remove tool is it will, you can paint over something, and you can do it in two ways. One is to paint over it stroke at a time, so you could, it normally comes up remove after each stroke, see up here at the top, and I think I prefer to turn that off, and when you turn it off it seems to work a little bit better. Just transfer, yeah, that's better. So here, using the remove tool, I'm going to paint over this thing and that bit of wire, and then I'm just going to click on this tick up here, and it's going to work its way, and this time it's running on my big machine at home. It's very fast. It's a bit slower here on this laptop, but this is running locally rather than sending it off to Adobe. Yeah, my big machine would have done this by now.
So definitely more time efficient for one thing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's gone. But occasionally you see it's not perfect, but it's very quick to just simply go and do the same again on this little bit. And sometimes it leaves a bit of a shadow, and again you just go in and have another go at it, and it's very quick. There you go, it's gone. And you can basically, because I don't like this lamp, I could say, let's just get rid of all this lamp. I just want to get rid of it. It's horrible.
Bit New York industrial loft style.
Yeah.
Removing people from wedding photos.
Well, yeah, it's good for that, you know. Those people you didn't like at school, get your school picture out, delete them.
Russian politicians that have fallen out of windows. So.
Yes, yeah. I expect Putin's using it for that already. Oh, he's got a man who does it for him.
It's funny to think it's just him.
Yeah, somebody sent me a joke the other day actually, but I don't know if I should tell it really.
Well, cut it out of the video. Let's put the sense of R over you, not Ildy this time.
Is it? It goes a big traffic jam in Russia, and the lorry drivers sitting waiting in the queue, and so here it's gone. Now notice here there's blue, a bit of a blurred area, and that probably needs to be done again. So if you do large things, and there's also a little bit here where I didn't quite catch the whole of the lamp, you know, so you have to make sure you select the whole of the lamp. But anyway, yeah, sorry, back to the joke. The joke is Russian lorry drivers waiting in this queue, and he sees a policeman walking along, and the policeman says, "I'm sorry, but got some bad news. There's a terrorist, and he's captured Putin, and so we've blocked the road, and the terrorist is asking for 10 million rubles to let him go. So we're just wandering along asking for donations." And the lorry driver says, "How much is everyone else giving?" "Oh, about a gallon." So anyway, that gives you so that's the alternative, and that's in the current version, and you can find it next to the spot healing brush. It might be better than the spot healing brush. It might be a replacement for the clone tool as well, but in fact there are times when the clone tool does work better. But
I have if say you wanted to use this for an optical illusion or to help make a practical effect in a photo, because I'm like, would you be able to remove everything but the head of the lamp and have that still work and look like sort of blend in with the photo. Like, you don't, obviously know you don't have a photo like it, but if you was to say, take a photo of something that's floating in midair, but your hand's ever so slightly in the shot.
Oh yeah.
Could you use it to like remove your hand
Yeah.
and have it still blend in very well?
Yes, you can. So
So-
I think
Levitation pictures should be adorable now.
yes, exactly.
Don't even need the staircase. You can just climb right up.
Yeah. And the other another thing that has got a lot better in the latest version of this is the beta version is hair selection. You know, when you're selecting a subject, it's got a lot more accurate. So if you've got a subject with curly hair, hair selection works a lot better. I don't know, time's getting on. I think I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to demonstrate hair selection. But
The computer might implode as well.
yeah,
It's catch fire
it's much better than it used to be. But there are some techniques that you might want to learn if you're going to use Photoshop for hair selection. And that is one of the things that people are now doing is because the hair selection's so good, it does work a lot better than it used to, but it's still not perfect. And now what people are doing is just doing a bit of generative fill around the edge of the hair, and it will then fix the bits that it didn't get quite right. So that's the latest way of using the combination of the two for fixing hair. So if you've got a picture you've taken, you want to get rid of the background, but it didn't quite work with the hair, then you can fix it with generative fill. Any more questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's amazing.
That's really good.